Jazz Notes Podcast. I'm Ben Anderson.
I'm Chandler Holt.
It is June 16th. We are 1 week away from the NBA draft. A little bit more than that, about 9 days, 10 days. A week from Wednesday. We were recording this on Monday, like I said, the 16th. So quickly, the plan for all of those who are regular listeners, I think next Monday we're just going to do a big double podcast.
Yep.
We'll probably release it as two different episodes, but I think they'll both come out on Monday. So we'll do one more just kind of normal Jazz Notes podcast, and then I think we'll do just like a mock draft and just kind of run through the top 30 players on the board just to give everyone a little bit more familiarity with the draft if you haven't really been diving that deep on it outside of the top 5 players. Maybe some names to be familiar with. I think that could be a fun exercise, and you can get an idea of like why the draft board might just break really weird. And why the Jazz might end up with some talent at 21. Speaking of which, we're going to talk about some of those players' names today. That's kind of going to be our breakdown. We've talked about most of the guys, I think, in contention for that top 5 selection. Maybe one more name today we'll touch on. And then we'll go over the other news and notes. And then, of course, we will wrap up with your mailbag. You can always find us on Twitter at Ben's Hoops. Find Chandler at C Holt Sports. You can find us at Blue Sky there as well. And, of course, my DMs are open, so if you want to send in questions, you can that way as well. All right, we always like to start with our weekly news, though, and there's quite a bit of it. So where should we start?
Kind of a funny thing on SportsCenter yesterday, right after the Grizzlies made the Desmond Bane trade. Kind of a crazy return for Desmond Bane as well. Brian Windhorst said no Western Conference team is tanking, and he specifically pointed out even the Jazz. He said the Jazz intend to turn it up. Do you take anything from that?
I mean, it's worth listening to, and you remember, Windy is very well connected.
Yes.
He knows everybody in the NBA, so I would listen to him in that sense. Now, look, the Jazz have always been looking to turn it up. I mean, I think that's the part that maybe has gone a little overlooked is like, I know there's like kind of the joke of the big game hunting thing, but like Danny Ainge did try to get Paul George and Mikal Bridges. Like, they tried to get Drew Holiday. Like, they tried to get Kristaps Porzingis. Like, they are really trying to do the basketball stuff. Like, they are trying to do their job and get better. And there just have been like either it's too high of a price or those guys have gone to other teams that are about to win a title or their camps have been like, Boston might be a better location for Drew than the Jazz actually. So we'd like that. So I think that's, yes, there's something there, but recognize there's kind of always something there. Teams are always trying to get better in July, in June. That's when you get better. It's hard for bad teams to try and get better when you are 15 or 18 games below 500, the trade deadline. Like, why would you try and get better then? But everyone's 0-0 right now, so you might as well try and get better. So yes, I believe it in a sense. No, I don't necessarily think it means that the Jazz aren't still going to be focused on that top 8 pick next year. And again, you're going to hear teams excited about improving their rosters. It's just like, just wait until you watch Cam Boozer and Darren Peterson and AJ DiBonsa and all these guys in this draft class. And it's like going to take 6 games before people are like, let's ease off the wins a little bit. Like, let's make sure you've got a chance to still get that draft pick, especially because, again, the Jazz is top 8 protected. I think we got a question about it at the mailbag, so we can touch on it a little bit more then. But, everyone's looking to get better right now. And that's your job.
And 2 points I want to make at that. First, Danny Ainge talking about big game hunting. In an interview on the KSL Sports One, I think a week or two ago, he basically said, like, it's hard to make trades when you're trying to sell your players. Like, a lot of these guys who have all-stars that they're trading, they already have guys or a type of player they have in mind, so they're going to reach out to these teams more or less. So it's like if you have to sell the other team on the players that you have, it's probably not going to work most times. And I think that's the position the Jazz were in. And then second, specifically with Windy making this report is I think these national reporters know a lot more about bigger markets than they do smaller markets. They aren't as tapped in. So I think maybe he was reading a little bit too much into the what Austin Ainge was saying, for example, in his starting press conference. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that that's not necessarily a new thing for the Jazz. Nothing's changed. Yeah,
and as we've said, I think everything's on the table. Legitimately, if the Jazz really think they can get better, get better.
Yeah.
And if you don't risk losing the draft pick. It's just like, it's kind of common sense. And that's actually the approach the Jazz are taking, even though I know some fans are frustrated with that approach. All right.
And then next up, a couple weeks ago, we found out the Salt Lake Summer League is back. It's going to be at the Huntsman Center on the University of Utah campus. And then we just found out some of the game times.
Coming up on July 5th, which is the first day. It's a little bit later. Sometimes they've started on the 3rd in the past. But the 5th this time, the Jazz are going to take on the 76ers. That's exciting. 2 top 5 draft picks, assuming that both teams make their top 5 picks. That'll be at 7 p.m. The Grizzlies and the Thunder tip off at 5 if you're going to go to both games. Then coming up on July 7th, so they take the 6th off, the Jazz will host the Memphis Grizzlies. That is a little bit more interesting now because the Grizzlies just acquired the 16th overall pick in that Desmond Bane trade that was supposed to go to Orlando, so more talent coming in. And then the Jazz will play the Thunder coming up on the 8th at 7 p.m. also. And the Thunder have the, 15th pick in the draft. So you'll have the 3rd pick, the 5th pick, the 15th pick, the 16th pick, the 21st pick. Do the Thunder have any more? I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're good talent. A lot of first-round talent coming in, plus all the Jazz guys from last year that I expect to be on the roster, and maybe some others. We'll see.
It's like a 6 of the whole first round.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's like a legitimate chunk of the first round, and we'll see if any of those other teams end up acquiring even more talent, which I think is possible.
All right, are we getting into our group of prospects?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
We were going to touch quickly on who's worked out with the Jazz.
Oh, yes.
Just because the names have been circulating. Sarah Todd's had it. Tony Jones has had it. And credit them. But one thing I would say is it's probably more notable like who doesn't work out for the Jazz at this point. Like you have a 5th pick and the 21st pick. Like you're going to get everybody.
Yeah.
Other than Cooper Flagg, who's only working out for one team.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like the Spurs, the report is they're only working out one player, and it's Dylan Harper.
Yeah.
So like they're probably keying in on him if that's who they're going to pick. So, if like VJ Edgecombe doesn't come in to Utah, and maybe he has already, I couldn't find it. It's like, then he's going ahead of the Jazz.
Yeah.
But you know what? Here's the thing. If VJ doesn't come to the Utah, and the Jazz like him, and he's on the board at 5, they're going to take him.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
who cares? Like, that's the stupid thing of like the idea that you wouldn't draft a guy who didn't work out in your city. It's like, big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been here before.
Mm-hmm.
He played at Utah. He played at BYU. Like, he's been to the state. He knows what he's like. He's a high character kid. Like, if you're going to draft a guy who's like, I hate Utah, you just wouldn't pick him. But that's not why he wouldn't work out here.
I was about to say, we talked about last week about like not working out and then it being like a Cam Whitmore situation. But I think VJ's like the total opposite of that. Where like you more or less understand what you're getting, both character and on the court.
Right, and everyone raves about his character.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't read into anything there. But otherwise, Trey Johnson, Common Malawash is going to come out and work out.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Fears has worked out. Yeah. I haven't seen Con Knippel, but Con Knippel actually just did his combine today. Because remember, he's dealing with an ankle injury, so he hasn't been working out with anybody. But he just did his combine today. And actually, let me pull those up. I think that's probably worth mentioning really quick just because there was some concerns about his athleticism. Let me see if I can pull up his numbers really quickly because he had a good showing in his combine. 2.29 shuttle. This is from Point Made Basketball, which was faster than VJ Edgecombe's.
Wow.
He's got a higher standing vertical jump, 31.5 inches, which is good.
That's good.
It's a higher vertical leap than Dylan Harper, than Jace Richardson. Jace Richardson's like a leaper. Like his dad is Jason Richardson, former dunk champ, and VJ Edgecombe. VJ Edgecombe only had a 30-inch standing vert.
That's crazy.
And then a better max vert, 36.5 inches than even Cooper Flagg and Ace Bailey. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Like again, you didn't see it on the court. It's like the thing with Trey Johnson. It's like you can talk about the athleticism. If it never shows up, it doesn't really matter. You didn't see like the leaping ever from Con. That's not his game. He's pretty ground bound, but like the speed is there's more speed there than I think a lot of people recognize. And again, it was like, I know a lot of people thought Grady Dick was like not an athlete at all. It's like, well, he's weird spacing at Kansas and actually had some dunks in the half court, certainly more than even Con Knippel had, but like very adequate NBA testing for Con, which is good because you can be a disqualifyingly bad athlete. And in fact, there was a player that we were going to talk about next that I think fits in this conversation that is a disqualifyingly bad athlete, but not bad for Con Knippel there. Yeah. So a 6'5" barefoot, again, 6'6" and a half wingspan, short arms, 8.5 standing reach, which is not terrible, but not elite, but pretty good leaping numbers and sprinting number or shuttle numbers. So interesting there.
As you previously mentioned, we had gone through a bunch of players that we thought were fit for the number 5 pick. Today we're going to talk about one more person who's sort of in that debate, and then 7 other guys who we think are late lottery to mid 20-ish range players.
But we're going to try and keep this to like 2 minutes per guy.
Yes,
outside of the first guy we want to talk about, just to give you a taste, because we were doing like 10 minutes on these other guys. And the guy I do think is worth talking about because if there's a player who's going to be the dark horse pick at 5, this is just totally my guess. This is not what I've heard. This is not worth aggregating, but just kind of my feeling. If there's a guy who nobody's talking about at 5 that could sneak up and be the number 5 overall pick, it's Kasparas Yakashonas from Illinois. Point guard, shooting guard, 6'4". I think this is his measurement without shoes on. Let me make sure. Yes.
6'4 3/4.
6'4 3/4. So pretty good size. Not huge, but pretty good. I mean, it's going to be well over 6'6" with shoes on. 8'3". Standing reach. Let's see if I have his wingspan here. His wingspan is 6'7", so not like huge, but 6'7", 6'7", not terrible. 205 pounds, good frame. You see his frame when he plays. Like he's like kind of stocky, but not like Con Knippel stocky. He's just like got a strong body. So the weird thing about Kasparas is midway through the season, he suffers a forearm injury, and his year falls off completely.
Yeah.
Before that, though, and I'll try and pull up his game logs really quickly, like, had he continued his trend early in the year, which is dangerous, like same with Yegor Demon, but it's not what happened. Had he continued his trend for like the first 12 games of the year, I think it would have been the second pick, maybe the third pick. Like he was really elite to start the season at Illinois, and then he gets hurt. I think it's like before the Michigan State game. He really plays 9 minutes against Michigan State. Before that, as this loads, he was awesome. Yeah. He hit every shot. He was a great passer, 81 assists, 54 turnovers. The turnovers are a big issue for him. But over his first 15 games of the season, which is a decent chunk, Illinois was 12-3 through 15 games. They were really good. He averaged 16.7 points, 5.4 rebounds, 5.4 assists, and he shot 50% from the floor, 41% from three. He gave him 77 attempts from three in 15 games. Like he was getting shots up and really knocking them down and averaging against 16, 5, and 5 were really elite. And then after that, this forearm injury, which credit him, he came back and played through. Even if you take out the Michigan State game where he only played 9 minutes and didn't play particularly well, you see the numbers really drop off. He was at 14 points a game, still at 6 rebounds, which is a nice number, still at 4 assists, which is a good number, but it's 4 turnovers a game. He's like 1-to-1 assist to turnover. And you see that on the court. He sprays it all over the floor. And then his shooting numbers dipped to 39% from the floor and 24% from three. Yes. So his first 15 games were awesome. His last 17 games were pretty concerning. But like if you were to bring him in for a workout and you're like, no, he's this guy that we saw the first 15 games of the season, like there's a chance you take him at 5.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that I would say is I think for both him and Derek Queen, I think they were worth the mention at 5, but I think they're going to go between the Jazz's picks. 5
I
and
think
21.
You're right. I think there's no chance they're on the board at 21.
Yes.
I think 5 just might be a little bit too rich for both of them.
Yes. But with that said, like you said, there was the sort of tale of two halves for him. And then he ended the year 3.7 turnovers, 25.4 turnover percentage, which is like awful.
Like disqualifyingly, like you can't play point guard if you're going to turn the ball over 1 of every 4 possessions.
Which is...
You can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I kind of struggled to come up with a comp with him. We'll get to that in a second because he has point guard duties. But I mean, like he has point guard skill set. Yeah. But also a lot of the things is like you can't play point guard if you're doing these
if you're going
things.
to turn it over like that.
Yeah, and also I don't think he'll be able to guard point guards with a scoring mindset. Like I think he's gonna default to guarding 2s. He may even get like hunted on by some players.
He might, yeah.
And he is not very athletic. Like he is a solid defender because of his size, but other than that, he's not like super quick, super mobile.
Right.
But with that said, he has really good IQ offensively and defensively. Sort of like the Con thing. Like his athleticism doesn't make him elite, but he's able to do what he needs to do in a lot of cases.
He is able to do what he needs to do offensively, where he's just a great offensive player. Like he's legitimately a great offensive player. And I believe in his ability to score the ball. I think he's going to shoot just fine. He's like a good step back 3-point shooter. Like that's what his game is. He takes too many of them. He needs to trust his ability to get into the paint a little bit more. And in fact, I think the turnovers he needs to be more selfish. Like sometimes he just tries to make so many highlight reel passes that like he gets into the paint. It's like, just shoot. Like you're way better off shooting than like trying to split 2 people in the paint and then you just like throw the ball to nowhere. That's kind of his issue, and that's ugly. But he's a stop and start athlete. Like he really gets space with pace, as opposed to like not speed, but I mean like change of speed, change of pace.
Kind of like Luka. Like
yes,
he's
exactly
really good at changing his pace.
So he's really strong, and then he changes his pace, and he stops, and all of a sudden there's all this room. Or you think he's going slow, and then all of a sudden he beats you with the first step. And it's like, okay, he's got 3 feet all around him. He's wide open. Yep. And that's where I think he just needs to shoot more. That's kind of my biggest issue with him. And again, why I think like there's a chance he's like a legit, really good point guard. But yeah, the turnovers are bad. I do like that he might be able to play off ball a little bit, like point guard and shooting guard. Yeah. So if you wanted to play him with like an Isaiah Collier, if you were convinced he had to be there, he probably could, and does it way more naturally than like a Keontae George. Like he's a much better playmaker naturally. And if it all clicks, like there's really high upside there. Yeah. Because I do like his effort on the defensive side of the ball. He's not like an elite defender by any means, but I do think he really plays hard, and I think the IQ's there, and he looks like a guy who's played a lot of professional basketball in Europe. Because he has. I also like the rebounding numbers are there. Like rebounding's an IQ rate for me. Like guards who are averaging 5 and 6 rebounds, I really like. Yeah. So I like him a lot. Like I like him way more than Jeremiah Fears.
Oh yes, no, same here.
Like I would have him way over there just because I think like the shooting's going to come along and the size is there, and like worst case scenario, like I think he's going to be a really good backup point guard for a long time who has some upside as a starter and really has upside as an all-star. But I like him. But I think you're probably right. He probably goes in between like 7 and 14.
Yeah,
I don't think
agree.
he falls out of the lottery.
Yeah.
But I really like him. I was impressed by his games.
I said he's sort of like a D'Angelo Russell. I think he'll be a better passer than D'Lo ever really was. But also like a Brandon Pajemski is like a comp that gets thrown around for him. So
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I get it. But he's fun.
Next Illinois kid.
Yeah, let's do the next Illinois guy, just because we're talking about those players. This is Will Riley, who is going to be in the conversation with the 21st overall pick for the Utah Jazz. Huge recruit coming into school, kind of projected as like, is this a 6'8", 6'9" point guard? Just for so everyone knows, 6'8" and a quarter in shoes.
Yes.
6'8" wingspan, so not like crazy. Kind of exactly 1-to-1. An 8'8" standing reach, which is not great. Only 185 pounds. What did you think about him?
It was, I forget which player we had talked about this before, but he does a little bit of everything, but he's not great at anything.
Right.
He's super toolsy wing. He's came at the combine 6'8" and a quarter, 6'8" and 3/4 wingspan, so almost even there.
Yeah.
Average 12.6, 4.1 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 43% from the field, 32.6% from three. Nothing that blows you away, but decent numbers all around. I think he does have not necessarily like point forward capabilities or potential rather, but I think that he will be like a plus playmaker at the wing forward position. However, he is like sort of Cody Williams effect. Like he is so skinny.
It is a ton of Cody Williams.
Yes.
Watching him play, it's really funny. And then he just didn't even make shots at the rate that Cody Williams did.
Yeah.
Where, again, Cody didn't take a lot of threes last year, or I should say his year at Colorado, but he made them at a very high rate and had a little more like interesting finishing, getting into the paint and like taking weird hook shots and runners. Now, Will Riley's better just like getting to the rim than Cody ever was, and seems to have like a little better speed, maybe a little more like desire to get all the way to the rim, but not dunking where Cody actually had some weird like poster dunks.
Yeah.
His freshman season. Will Riley doesn't do that, but I do think he's best going downhill. But like the shooting was not good. The body's not good. The length is not elite. I don't think the playmaking is actually there. Like I was really unimpressed when I watched him, and then the steals and blocks numbers are atrocious.
Terrible.
Like he's such a bad defensive player where, again, like I think the upside for Cody is that I still think he was like in all the right spots defensively. I think he got his hands on a lot of balls. I think he got a lot of deflections and seemed to get more confident there, and then has a chance to be like a little bit of a defensive playmaker that just might create, a steal and a block a game that leads to fast break opportunities, which just has value. You don't get that at all from Will Riley.
Yeah.
So I don't make a board. I don't make a draft board like that, but like I just think there's going to be better players on the board at 21.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't love him. He's just a little awkward. And I get it. He's good height. Ideally, he can shoot off the dribble. Ideally, he can get into the paint. And maybe it's a guy who does end up like having high upside, and you're drafting these one and done players later in the year. And it was just a weird fit at Illinois with a better guard who had some of the similar skills that he did, and that overshadowed him. But it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, no, I agree. I see him as sort of like a RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish. I don't know. I think that if you're drafting him, it is upside because he has a foundation for a lot of these things.
Right.
But it's like I think in some areas he needs to like improve a lot. And both when you're looking at him and you're drafting a lot of these players, you're drafting just what they do on offense, right? Because not a lot of players are going to come in and be great defensively. But you either want them to be okay as an actual on-ball defender, or you want them to be a defensive playmaker, and I don't think Riley had either.
Yeah, he's neither.
Yeah.
It's very tough. All right, who's next on the list?
I kind of want to save this guy for a little bit longer, so let's talk about Thomas Sorber.
Okay.
Thomas Sorber, listed at 6'9" and a quarter at the combine with a 7'6" wingspan.
And you see it. His arms are crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
He averaged 14.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 53% from the floor, 16% from three, just not really what he does. I think he's kind of trying to add that, but not there yet. Really, the thing with him is he's a rim protector. Like, great defensive IQ, great defensive positioning. Georgetown was 26 points per game worse defensively when he was off the floor.
And I would just take defensive out of that conversation. He's just a great IQ player.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I was really surprised. Now, he only played 24 games. Did he break his foot, right? He had a foot injury.
Yes.
And so he hasn't really even been working out with teams yet.
Yeah, I think the report was he had a meeting with the Jazz. No work.
Yeah, I think Tony Jones reported that.
Yeah.
So credit Tony again. He averaged 2 blocks and 1.5 steals.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at how much I liked watching his footage. He plays heavy.
Yeah.
Because he's huge.
Yeah.
He is a behemoth of a human. It's surprising he's only how tall did you say he was?
He was 6'9" and a quarter, no shoes.
He looks enormous on the court.
Yeah.
And his arms are so long, and he kind of he kind of like tromps around a little bit. He's like a little bit of a Clydesdale.
Yeah.
But man, I was like super impressed. Like he's just always in the right spot. He makes super quick decisions with the ball in his hands. He makes really quick reads. He wants to shoot it a little bit more than I think he's going to be able to. But the free throws did go in at a 72%. Like I think there's a chance that he has like a 15-footer in his game where if you absolutely leave him unguarded, he's gonna hurt you. I don't love to make player comps, but just to give you an idea of like a pathway of how he got there was one that really jumped out. But I'm curious what you thought about him as a player.
Yeah, I think he's an awesome play finisher. I would say one knock on him is he's not an explosive athlete. He doesn't have a lot of verticality, but his like wingspan in terms of rim protecting him except for that.
And has really good touch, I think.
Yes. He shot 68% at the rim, which is awesome.
Really awesome.
51% on rolls, 57% on the post. This one was interesting. 52% on hooks. He just all the time.
He's a little old school.
Yeah, 100%. He's not an offensive hub, but I wrote he's like a connective passer. Like there's some big men who just like are always doing handoffs or the most simple pass, and I think Sorber has a couple steps up from that. I think he's a better passer than his 2.4 number even really shows, that's a decent number for a center.
Yeah, sorry to pull up my phone. This is where I kept my notes because I was just like watching him and taking notes on my phone instead of getting my computer out. And I'll walk through it. I think you're saying the same things. Huge.
Yeah.
Moves well for his size. Not explosive, but super active. Like he does not stop moving. Some of these big guys just like go and plant and stay.
Yes.
Like, that's not him at all. You can like see him pointing everything out on defense. He's like telling everyone where to go. He's physical. He doesn't know how to use his body yet.
Yeah.
Like he's just so big. You can tell he like doesn't know how to use it. But I think that's going to come. Good screener, not like an elite screener, but a good screener. Good rebounder, not like an elite rebounder. But you know who he reminds me of a lot, which I haven't seen this comp, which I'm surprised. Steven Adams.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a chance he's the strongest guy in the NBA for 5 years.
Yeah.
In his prime. And it's just like, I just think having that guy who really smart, knows how to pass, is a bully, is a pain to defend against, and is just like going to be effective. Like, I think that's like his pathway. And I'm not saying he's exactly Steven Adams. He's not. But like Steven Adams, I watched him his first year at Pitt. I saw him in person. Like, he was just way big and didn't have anywhere near the impact even that Sorber had at Georgetown this year.
Yeah.
So I really liked him. Anyways, I'd be a pro Sorber guy.
Yes.
Again, he's going to follow just in between the Jazz, I think. I don't see a situation where he's there at 21. But then again, this board could fall weird.
Yeah. He had multiple 12 rebound and 13 rebound games, and his career high this last season, I don't know about before that, was 15. So, like, I think that is I think he could be, it's hard to say because I don't know if he will be a starter, but I could see him being a double-double guy if he does get the opportunity to.
He's fun.
Yeah.
He's a really fun player. I liked him quite a bit.
All right. Next, let's do Nick Clifford.
Okay. Interesting player.
Very interesting player.
Both good and bad.
Yes.
So Nick Clifford started his career, he's a shooting guard, small forward. He's like a true kind of wing.
Yeah.
Played his first 3 years at Colorado, transferred down, which is interesting. You don't see a lot of players go that direction. It's kind of a red flag. So he transferred down and then he exploded.
Yes.
And was just like dominant at Colorado State and does a lot well.
Yes.
He is like, I think like an actualized version of what people want Will Riley to be.
Okay, yeah.
It's kind of funny. Like he does a lot well. I don't know what if he's like truly elite at, but he just like kind of looks the part of an NBA player. He's older. He's 23 years old.
Yes.
He's got really long legs. He's got like really high hips, but like he can kind of do everything. He can kind of bring the ball up the floor. He can definitely shoot when he's open. He finishes at the rim. He's got some explosive dunks. I think he's going to be able to play some defense. Like, there's just kind of like some good things there.
I think this is going to be super random. I think Nick Clifford was my third favorite of the non-Kasparis guys that we're looking at. Something crazy. He was listed at 6'5" and a quarter with a 6'8" wingspan. 6'5" and a quarter. He averaged 9.6 rebounds a game.
Again, we're talking about like high rebound guys, like high IQ guys. Like rebounding's a really good sign for me. He is playing against smaller players, but like it's a crazy rebounding.
That's still a crazy number. Absolutely. And I think talking about something not elite is like hard to really gauge this, but I think he has a crazy high motor. Like,
he does, yeah. He
like
plays
that
really
is
hard.
that is something that you can sort of point out for him. And then, like you said, similar to Will Riley, where we talked about a little bit of everything. He can dribble, he can pass, he can shoot. He's passable defensively, not elite by any means. I think he's like, I kind of hate this word, but he's like a glue guy. And like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's like a chance he's like awesome. There's a chance he's like a really good NBA player, and everyone's like, yeah, well, he was really good at Colorado State, and he just kept doing that in the NBA. I do worry a little bit about some older guys, and he does older guy things, which is like, what does the old guy do when you go play at like the YMCA? It's like, well, he rebounds really well and he like hits open shots, right? It's like, yeah, he's stronger than everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, and he is. Nick Clifford's just like a 23-year-old playing against a bunch of 19-year-olds at times in a smaller conference.
Yeah.
So there is some of that there. Also, just for like, we've talked about like Trey Johnson and how bad what Texas did.
Yeah.
What they do at Colorado State's awesome. Like they run it, it looks like a professional team. They take a bunch of threes. He's got a bunch of good shooters around him. The ball moves really quickly. In fact, their head coach just got hired by Minnesota. Like, was a good enough coach that he got a big promotion as a job. So that would be my concern. The 3-point shooting is like good. It's not like you see 37%. He's not like going to knock down 37% every game.
No.
He's going to go like 4 of 5 one game and like 1 of 6 the next. Like I just don't think he's super consistent. Okay steal and blocks numbers, but not like elite. So I don't know. Like I get why he's projected in the second half of the draft.
Yes.
And could go anywhere from like 15 if a team like Memphis was like, this is exactly who we have won with. And by the way, they're right. Memphis has drafted older players in college and had a lot of success with them, specifically like Desmond Bane's the best example of this, but like Santi Aldama and some of these guys that they've gone with historically, they're not afraid to take some older players. Maybe Aldama's a bad, but you know, that type of guy.
Yes.
And they've done well. They just had a player finish who was the kid that they drafted out of Washington State, who was a longtime player who just finished on the all-rookie first team. Like they do this. So Nick Clifford, like if he goes 15 to Memphis, wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
It's also a chance he's just like on the board at 28 for some reason because teams are like, he's 23 and a half years old.
Yeah. Anything else you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I think we can go ahead.
Okay, this was
By the way, Jalen Wells. It's like exactly who I'm thinking of. But like, you know, Jalen Wells was exactly this like type of prospect. Older, kind of did a lot well, but wasn't like a star anywhere. And goes in the second round. I was like, yeah, that guy should have been the 14th pick. Like Nick Clifford could be that conversation this year. So like I'm like, I get it. I also like, it's hard to project.
Yeah.
Tough eval.
I think this is my favorite player that we looked at.
Okay.
Rasheer Fleming.
Okay, Rasheer Fleming.
Yes. Listed at 6'8" and a quarter. Again, 7'5" and a quarter wingspan. Ridiculous wingspan. He's a true, like, almost do-it-all 4. Like, he's not...
He is a 4.
Yes, he is a 4.
He 100%. Is a power forward.
But, like, he's not going to have the ball in his hands.
Nope.
He's not going to be a hub big man, like we talk about.
At all.
But, like, other than that, those are, like, the only two things that I really am like, he can't do.
Yeah, he's weird. I had a hard time watching him.
Okay.
Because, like... There are times when I'm like, I want to see a lot more because he has excellent physical tools. Like, I think he's a good leaper.
Yes.
He had some real poster dunks. He runs the floor well. He shoots really well when he's wide open, 39% from 3. He averaged, did you talk about his averages already?
No, I didn't.
14.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, 1 assist, block and a half, steal and a half. Like, you're right. He kind of does everything. I worried when I watched him. I was just like, what? I just like didn't fall in love with him.
Okay.
And I wanted to.
Yes.
And I just like couldn't quite get there. So I guess I'll ask you to just like sell me on him a little bit more.
So it's
because I'm open to it.
Yes. It's really like, for example, we talked about, and like when I say I like him, I mean specifically for the Jazz, especially like at the 21 range. We talked about Jeremiah Fears. I was like, he doesn't defend, he doesn't shoot well, he turns the ball over. Those are the 3 things the Jazz already struggled with the most. As a big man, he defends well. He has good defensive IQ and positioning. He shoots the ball well, 39%. It was like all catch and shoots, which is like...
Yes, all catch and shoot.
Yeah, which is like, you have Isaiah Collar-Keontae, like, he can be in the dunker spot a lot. He doesn't roll particularly well, but he sets good screens and he has good, like I said, good positioning offensively and defensively. And then it's like, I just keep going back to that 39% number and it's consistent improvement. He's not going to shoot 39% in the NBA, but if he shoots 35, 36%, and then the thing that really, with a lot of these players I look at, if he can improve this one thing, swing skill, right? He can do straight line, like just take the ball 1-2 dribbles, get to the rim. But if he can actually do a little bit of like maybe out of Euro or like getting around the defense a little bit more, and then he has the threat of the catch and shoot, and then he can get to the rim a little bit better, like he's like exactly what I think the Jazz would want in a 4.
And he's a late bloomer, like from his high school days.
Yes.
He played with like a bunch of other elite players and was just kind of also on the team and got offers that way, which is how he ended up, where'd he go, to St. John's?
Yes.
And look, St. John's, like they're playing against lesser players. He was there for 3 years. Like he is older.
Yes.
That's the other thing that's worth noting. And like that was part of it. And he got better every year, but like that's what some of these guys do. Like they're just physically better, and he is physically better than everybody else out there. But the nice thing is like he's not just doing like rebounding and putbacks. Like you're saying, he's like hitting open threes. Like
Yes.
those guys end up having value. So like, even if like, I guess worst case scenario, there was like some Royce O'Neal stuff there where he's not as positionally diverse as Royce was, but like hit open shots, grab some rebounds, play some defense. There's value there.
Yeah.
I think I would like it a little more if I trusted he could like play the 5 and go like small ball 5, and maybe he can.
I think he has that upside personally.
But like it's more likely I think he does that than he goes down and like can play the 2 or the 3 because I don't think the ball skills or the playmaking is going to be there. I did see a lot of like my fear with him. And it's why you got to be careful, like with comps, because once you get it in your head, it's hard to get it out. Why I don't like it, but like there's like a lot of Noah Vonleh there for me. Which like Noah Vonleh, go back, he shot like 50% from 3 his 1 year at Indiana. And he like went the 9th overall pick. And you're like, the athleticism is there, the length is there, the shooting's there, everything is there, and it doesn't work. Now maybe the problem was Noah Vonleh went in the top 10 or wherever he went, and Fleming's going to go in the 20s for a team that's like, don't ever dribble the ball, just shoot when you're open, play some defense and run. And it's like, so if he were to land with like the Houston Rockets, like I love that, right? They've got a bunch of guys like Tari Eason who do that really well. There are also teams that like I think are going to ask him to do too much and are going to be really unimpressed with him. And I think I could see that being the fear with him.
I think if he starts out as a true role player, like come in, spot up occasionally, be in the dunker spot, and then just be a help defender. Like if he's a true role player his first couple of years and then can slowly progress in the areas that he needs to, I think that's his best path. A la, and this is my comp for him, Jeremy Grant. I think like Jeremy Grant, especially like starting out, I think he started somewhere else, but he eventually made his way to OKC with like
Denver first,
with Russell Westbrook and such. Like if he's next to a pass first point guard who can set him up both in the dunker spot and on the 3, I'm a broken record here. But like the improvement, and like you say, not as good comp, but not as good competition. He shot 29.7%, 32.4%, then last year jumped all the way to 39% while shooting the most he ever has. So, I like Rasheer Fleming in the, of course, 20s.
I think he's a little more role specific than people think. So you've got to bring him in and like shape him into that role specifically. The nice thing is like that's the role he played in college. Like he wasn't trying to be something he wasn't. And that can be really valuable. A guy who just comes in is like, this is who I am. And I'm going to do this one thing and I'm going to do it really well. And there's one thing is like being a floor spacing power forward specifically. So it's like a lesser version of Taylor Hendricks for me. Now, and like he could end up being a better player than Taylor. You know what I mean? Just because like Taylor's trying to figure out exactly who he is, and like Rasheer knows. That's the value there. And I should say, despite the fact that he played 3 years, he's still only 20. He won't even be 21 on draft night yet. So he is young for his junior year compared to his class. So he's really interesting. I totally get it. Like, I would hate him if he goes to Brooklyn. I would like him if he goes to Orlando. You know, I would, so you just got to understand kind of like how much more are you expecting to get out of him. I think that's going to be really important for anyone who drafts him. But the shot making is there. And I think like if he can really guard 4s, which might be a little bit more niche than we recognize, there's value there for sure.
All right, let's get we have 2 big men left. Let's get one of them out of the way. Do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about Maxime Reynaud.
Okay.
Because you like Rasheer Fleming, and of this group, I'll say Maxime Reynaud is my favorite player.
Okay.
He is like, so senior, played at Stanford, 4 years. He's like very much a floor spacing big man, right? Like that is his skill. Maxime Reynaud, last year he averaged 20 points and 10 rebounds. Here, I'll pull up his stats really quick. He was 20.2 points, 10.6 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 1.4 blocks. Not great. He's a legit 7-footer. He measured in at over 7 feet, right, at the combine. He had a very good combine. He kind of had a big game. He was like the guy who broke out. I had actually forgotten that until recently. Because I just went back and watched his footage. I'm just like, this is exactly what the NBA is about. Like, he is a very good athlete. Finishes easily on top of the rim. He is slight. Like, he's pretty thin. He's not crazy thin. It's like it's not the guy who's going to get pushed around everywhere he goes. He's 7'1". He's 240 pounds. He only has a 7'1" wingspan, so he's not like crazy long, but he's a 7-foot wingspan because he's 7 feet tall. But he really moves well. He really is a dynamic mover for the way, compared to most 7-footers. You just don't see that a whole lot. And then the most important thing is he shot 35% from 3 on 5.5 attempts. Like, that's a legit big man skill.
That's awesome.
We talked about, last year, or I think it was even the last podcast, that Kyle Filipowski, if he was going to play the 4, had to shoot 35% or above. And center's probably got to be 32 to 35% if you're going to be a legit stretch center. And I kind of have no doubt that he's going to get there.
Yeah.
Because he also shot 77% from the floor. So, like, there's, like, good three-point shooting there. His field goal percentage is only at 46%, which is really low for a 7-footer. But he, like, wants to dunk. Like, he tries to dunk it a lot. He can catch lobs in the half court. He can catch lobs as a pick-and-roll player. And, like, he's a knockdown spot of three-point shooter. He's not great, like, at a pick and pop. That's probably, like, his swing skill.
Yes.
If he could develop that, he might be a starter and, like, a high-level starter. But if not, like, if that's your backup to Walker Kessler and he's, like, a change of pace guy, like, I would, if he was there at 21, like, and you just, like, know what role he's going to come in and play, like, I think there's a ton of value there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, you talked about offensively, super skilled. Post up, I think that's something, like, he has a very solid post up game. He has good touch. Face up, shoot from deep. And something that I thought was interesting is, like, even for his size, that, like, when I clicked onto the first game to watch of him, I was like, oh, this is going to be like a clunky big who just spots up occasionally. He's not at all. Like he'll even, like, if you come at him with a poor closeout, he will go by you.
And
like,
dunk on you.
Yeah, 100%.
Really easily.
Like, good footwork as well. Again, similarly to who we talked about previously, I don't think he's going to be a hub, but he has good passing IQ.
Yeah,
overall.
he's good enough.
Yes.
It's not like the ball touches him and it never comes out again.
Yeah. And then 2.3 stocks. Like, that's solid. Like, could be better, but solid.
Yeah, I just really like him.
Yeah.
Crafty, but not prolific passer. It's kind of the things I wrote down.
Yeah.
I think he plays really hard. Just like, I think those things matter.
Yeah.
I really was impressed. That's a guy who, again, could go way higher than anyone thinks. He could be a guy who ends up going like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Like, I like him more than Derek Queen.
Okay.
A lot more than Derek Queen.
Yeah. I don't think, like you said, he's not, like, strong, but I just asked the question, will his defensive size and shooting translate? Because I think those are, like, real questions to ask when you bring over big guys from college, like Zach Edey, for example.
I think he's gonna be able to move his feet a lot better than that. So I actually think he can probably, like, go out and, like, hedge a little bit on the pick and roll and then, like, retreat. Like, he's not gonna be a great drop big.
Yes.
And I don't think he's gonna be a great, like, island defender either. But, like, I just think there's, like, enough there if you're playing him 18 minutes a game, which, like, if you get a 21, if you got to get a guy at 21 who can play 18 minutes a game,
that's good.
And, like, knock down threes at 7 feet tall and give you a thing that you don't have on your roster.
Yeah.
There's a lot of value there. So I think he's really undervalued on a lot of draft boards. It's kind of my hot take from this last week. I would take him in the lottery, to be honest with you. I'm not that high on him. So yeah, I really like him.
Next up, let's do Jace Richardson.
Okay.
I have a hot take for Jace.
Okay.
I like him more for the Jazz. This is going to be crazy. I know this is a crazy hot take. I like him more for the Jazz than I do Jeremiah Fears.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
Yeah.
I don't think that's that crazy.
Okay.
Like, I don't make a board, but I kind of just, like, slot guys in.
Yeah.
And I promise you, if I go to it, I have Jace above Jeremiah Fears. In fact, I have him right in front of him.
Yeah.
So Jace Richardson, kind of like a top 50 recruit, not like an elite recruit, but a good recruit. Son of Jason Richardson, former NBA player. Kind of an undersized shooting guard, really is what he is.
Yes.
He's going to have to play point guard in the NBA, I think, to make it. But he's 6 feet tall, which is little. He's got a 6'6" reach, which helps, or 6'6" wingspan, which helps. It says he only weighs 180 pounds. He's, like, stockier than that. Like, I have no doubt that he's going to be able to put on weight and be able to play big enough in the NBA. And only an 8'2" standing reach. So, like, that's the fear on him, is that he's little.
Yes.
Like, that's his biggest knock. Otherwise, like, he does a lot well. What did you see from
him? First thing I just want to point out, like, let me pull this up. Yeah. 6 foot and half an inch, no shoes, 6'6" wingspan, like you said. His dad was 6'6", and because of the wingspan, like, right now the biggest question mark with him is his size. If he can grow to 6'2", 6'3", like, I think he has, like, could be a starting point guard in the NBA.
And again, it's important to note, he's only 18 and a half. So,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's not like, we don't know that he won't grow anymore.
Yes.
This is not a 22-year-old. This is an 18-year-old.
100%. Shot 41.2% from three, 45.7 on catch and shoot, 50% unguarded catch and shoot threes. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
He's also, like, for his size, really good at finishing, 68.8% at the rim.
Yeah, he is.
That's a crazy number for his size. Second best freshman box plus minus behind Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
I like, as I previously mentioned, there was the 3 things that Fears doesn't have. Jace has a similar energy that we point out to Jeremiah Fears on defense. Like, it's like he's small, but at least he has effort there. And then, like, he has the shooting that Jeremiah doesn't.
He's a little underwhelming just from his statistical profile.
Yes,
right.
true.
12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and you're like, he's 6 feet tall. Like, what?
Yeah.
But you watch him and you're like, oh, this dude totally knows who he is. Like, that's what I love about his game the most, because I do like him.
Yes.
He just knows exactly what he is. And once, like, Michigan State kind of realized like, exactly how to use him, of just like, he's not create off the dribble, like step back into a 3 guy, but he actually can like be a little bit of a foul merchant, like foul shot merchant. Like he knows how to get to the paint, 3.5 free throws a game. We thought the free throw rate was pretty solid there. He just like is not forcing it. If he gets it and realizes he doesn't have an advantage, he just kicks it right back out. By the way, he's playing with Fears' brother. Who is actually the point guard at Michigan State, which is kind of the issue. I think it's Jeremiah Fears or
Jeremy Fears.
Jeremy Fears.
Yeah.
Jeremy and Jeremiah Fears. What were you doing there, parents? And, you know, obviously they weren't twins because Jeremiah Fears reclassified to jump up there. Anyways, it was confusing. But so I think that was actually kind of an issue. Like, he should have gone to a team where like they didn't have another point guard. And maybe he could have done that a little bit more and would have looked better. Or maybe he would have looked worse and he picked that spot to hide some of his deficiencies. But yeah, he just like really knows how to play. And if you believe in like drafting the children of NBA players, which by the way is like the best indicator of draft success because they've been around the game their whole life. And their dad has good DNA and they just kind of understand the culture. It's really a positive. So like, if he was there at 21, like I totally get it. And it's like, I just think he like probably comes in and takes Keontae's job. Yeah. It's truthfully. And like, maybe not year 1, Keontae's going to be going into year 4, year 2, year 3.
Yeah, year 3.
And like knows skills. But like if you got him and said like, we want to get off of Keontae, I would get like where he would step in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then actually might just end up being your point guard. And you're little, like he's little.
Yeah, he is.
There's no doubt about it. But the effort is really there defensively. The IQ was there. I just think he's like a guy who like, maybe his size ends up meaning he's like the 9th best player on your team. Yeah. And he's out of a playoff rotation. But I think he's like a good regular season player. And there's value in that.
2 more things I want to touch on with him. I don't, like as he stands right now, and even if he grows a couple inches, I think like you said, he has to be a point guard. But I think he's in the lane of like Trey Johnson and Keontae George, where he's not a natural playmaker.
Agreed.
And I like, even adding on to that, I think that Keontae and Trey both are more talented passers, if that makes sense. Like they can make better passes than
I saw some exciting passes. True, I actually saw a couple where I was like, okay, that was like a legit read. Like he saw an advantage and created an opportunity that I thought was exciting.
Yeah,
but he doesn't have the same gravity that those guys have. Where like they're not creating. He's not going to create off the dribble. I think the way some of them do. Well, I mean, Trey Johnson doesn't really do it either. But you just have to be so committed to him because of his 3-point shot that like you're right. He's going to be able to throw open passes off of double teams that Jace is never going to. He's never going to create.
Yeah. And one more thing is he doesn't, like you can't bet on a guy to get taller, but you can bet on him to get bigger. And I think that the size specifically with him is like you have Fred VanVleets and Davion Mitchells who are smaller but also stockier. So it's like their defensive liability isn't as obvious. And he's just also super skinny and small. So.
Yeah, like the hope is that like he's Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like someone is going to say that and someone's going to draft him for that reason and be like, it might be there.
Yeah.
I think that's way too high of an upside because Jalen Brunson's, certainly exceeded all expectations, but son of an NBA player, little undersized, but like a true winner, great box plus minus stuff like you mentioned. There's a lot to like about Jace Richardson. Again, if he was there at 21, like the issues about his height are legitimately questionable. Yeah. He's just a really good player. He's just a really good basketball player, and I think he'll stick around.
All right, last one.
Okay, is this our last guy?
Yeah, I think so.
Thank goodness.
Ryan Kalkbrenner. Listed at 7'1" in the combine, 7'6" wingspan, averaged 19.2 points, 8.7 rebounds, 65% from the floor, 34.4% from 3.
Okay, the sell is that he's massive.
Yes.
Truly massive. Yep. Like you mentioned. 7'6" wingspan, 9'4" standing reach, over 7 feet tall, like a legitimately huge human being.
Yes.
7'2", NBA size.
Yeah.
Some 3-point shooting chops, but like not enough. He won 3-time Defensive Player of the Year in, was it the Atlantic 10 or whatever it was he played in? I don't see it at all.
I think he was my least favorite of the everyone.
I don't see it at all. It's like weird to see some place where it's like, he's going to go 18. And like maybe, but like, man, for his size, he is pudding soft.
Yeah.
He just gets maneuvered all over the floor because you can get underneath him so easily and just push him out of the way. And thus, like, his 8.7 rebounds per game, like, I think he led the conference. It was terrible.
Yeah.
He's a terrible rebounder.
Yeah.
He finishes everything. Like his first game of the season, like if you go to his box score, he shot 20 of 22 from the floor, like, and had 49 points. It's like, whoa, this guy's awesome. And then you watch him, it's like, oh, that's truly never going to happen in the NBA.
Oh,
like,
no.
I watched him against Auburn and Janai Broom.
Yeah.
And they just destroyed him.
Yeah.
Like he can't get shots off cleanly because he moves really slowly. And he was 7 of 13 in that game and finished with like 18 and 7. Like I guess that's the draw of him, is that like, because he's so huge, there's just some raw production there.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, he moves poorly. He doesn't react quickly at all defensively. So like NBA bigs, NBA guards are just going to go right around him. His recovery speed is not very good. I don't believe in the 3-point shot the way I do like a Maxime Reynaud.
Yeah.
Like totally has the athleticism there. So like, man, I'm shocked that people have Kalkbrenner where they do.
Yeah.
Like he should be like, he should go legitimately 50 spots behind some of these other guys we talked about in the draft.
Yeah.
Like he should go 50 spots behind Kasparas Giacosionis.
Oh, yeah.
Like they shouldn't be within 6 spots of each other.
No. Like let's not totally dog him.
No,
on him.
that's fine. No, I'm sure he's a great kid.
Yeah. He has good hands. He has decent body control for a big. Good touch.
Yeah.
But I do think it's like classic bigger than everyone else he plays against.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
But he's not stronger than anyone else he plays against. And again, he's 23. He's going to turn 24 during his rookie season.
Yes.
And it's like, so he's not getting stronger. Like not a lot stronger. Not the way you look at like a Rasheer, or not a Rasheer Fleming, though he's only 20 in this group that we were talking about. Thomas Sorber, who's like just going to be such a monster physically. Like Kalkbrenner's going to be a little bit overwhelming, but like, so was Taco Fall. And like, that's what I put on my thing as I was watching him. Like I just put Taco Fall, question mark. Like, yeah, you're just bigger than everybody. And like, there's some basketball stuff there, but like, it was rough.
He's going to be the same age as Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, exactly right. Right? Like, so yeah, I'm not trying to like, I would definitely have like a second round grade on him, if at all.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like, consider him like 53.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm just way off. Maybe he just ends up having a much better, but like I just don't see it at all.
No.
There's not even the like late career Brook Lopez, because like like I think that's the hope, is that that's what you're getting. Like I just don't think he's that prolific of a 3-point shooter. And so I just don't know what the skill is.
I don't even trust him to get as big as Brook. Like I've seen Brook Lopez in person. He's like a mountain.
A man.
Like
a huge person.
Yeah. Like I just don't trust. And it's like you talk about like seeing them in person, seeing their shoulders, like to see how big they can get. I just don't see him ever getting there.
Yeah. Like he's prolific. I get it. Like there are huge outings, but like, okay, you beat up on Providence and you beat up on, you know what I mean? Like some of these other schools, it's just like, and then against some of the better opponents, like the rebounding numbers weren't there and the shooting wasn't there. So I just don't totally see it, to be honest with you. Exciting for him, but yeah, I don't see a whole lot of it.
Hey, shout out 49 points against UT Rio Grande Valley. Though.
Yeah,
that's
but
awesome.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like UT Rio Grande Valley where the tallest guy is you.
Yeah.
What are you, like 6'4", 6'5"?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like correct. Yeah, go guard Kalkbrenner. You're going to get roasted. But I didn't see it.
Yeah,
so the worst of this group. All right, let's go through them really quickly, just again. And just say thumbs up or thumbs down. And that's just going to be a very basic. So let's go with Kasparas Giacosionis.
Thumbs up.
Will Riley. And I'll say thumbs up too.
Okay, I'll give a thumbs
on Giacosionis. I'm going to go thumbs down on Will Riley. Rasheer Fleming?
Thumbs up.
You kind of sold me. I'll go thumbs up.
Okay.
I think it's a little more role specific.
Yeah.
Thomas Sorber?
Thumbs up.
Oh, big thumbs up for me. Nate Clifford.
That's a true thumb sideways.
That's a true thumb sideways. Leaning up for me.
Yeah.
More so than like Will Riley, who's clearly down.
Yeah.
Jace Richardson?
Leaning down.
Oh, really? I like Jace.
I like him, but
6 feet tall is worrisome.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good guards in that stretch that we haven't talked about yet.
Sure.
Maxime Reynaud is a huge thumbs up for me. Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Down.
35 thumbs down.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get your mailbag. Appreciate everyone sticking with us. I know that went longer than we expected, but more Jazz Notes coming up next. Welcome back to the Jazz Notes podcast. Ben Anderson, Chandler Holt. All right, we went almost an hour in that first segment, so my apologies there. So let's do a slightly quicker mailbag, but that's a lie because I said we're going to do a quicker first, so I'm going to.
Yeah.
All right. We'll start, as always, you can find us on Twitter at Ben's Hoops, at C Holt Sports. Same place at Blue Sky, though I didn't get any Blue Sky replies today, so let's go to my DMs. From Dan, USU The Right Blue, says, do the Jazz need to have 1 star and a ton of depth, or 2 stars with less depth? Seems like the salary cap is tough to stack a big 3 unless they're all past their prime. Yeah, I think the big 3 is largely dead.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Which actually is pretty interesting about what Memphis just did, right? They said, we're going to consolidate around our big 2. Now, maybe there's following moves, but I think that's what they said. We're going to go with a big 2, and we've got all these draft picks now, and then build out their depth. And they actually have pretty reasonable depth. I like Memphis in that sense. They just may have realized that three players is going to be too expensive.
Yeah.
So I think it's 2. And then I just wouldn't sell out on your depth. I think it's 2+ depth, not 1+ depth. 1+ depth is not good enough.
Yeah.
You got to have 2 guys and then like 8 or 9 guys that can get you to 11 throughout the regular season. And then hopefully you're healthy enough to survive the postseason.
And the thing that I like about the NBA is like, if you look through history, I feel like there's always been sort of like a thing to do, right? Like regarding building your team. Like there was the Big 3 era. And then now we're at a point where it's like, I don't think there is a thing to do. Like you look at the Thunder, you have Shea, MVP, like he's a true superstar. And then it's like, you could argue that J-Dub and Chet are stars, but I would even say like a star title might be even a little bit too much for them. I don't know.
Yeah, Jalen Williams made the All-Star team, but like he's not like a star every night. He's not great every night. He's good. He's really good, but he's not great every night the way, some of these other top 15 players in the league are.
Yeah, and then you have the Pacers. Mind you, the NBA Finals are tied 2-2 right now. You have the Pacers who have like, I would say Pascal and Tyrese are both stars. But then other than that, it's just like a bunch of really good role players that all come together really well.
And then even then, like Tyrese is not a top 6 player in the NBA, and like is not great every night either.
Yeah, exactly.
So, no, I'm with you. We're in an interesting evolution right now as teams are trying to figure out this new CBA.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our mailbag. What's next?
Yes. Into the extra replies. First up from Dre Modeshaw. I believe it was you who brought up the idea, not report or rumor, but idea, that a Lowry to Memphis trade makes sense, especially with their connections. Can you see that happening? And he's talking about the coaching connection.
The Finnish head coach that they just hired, who I'm sure is just familiar with Lowry because it's not a very big country and basketball is not the primary sport. So I could, again, but it goes back to this idea that like, maybe they're just consolidating around their 2 guys. And that's Jaren Jackson Jr. and John Morant. And then they think they can build out the depth. Now, here's the thing. They have really bad ownership. They have really cheap ownership in Memphis. And that's probably the other reason why they're doing this. And they're going to have to pay KCP, but you can figure that out. And you're going to have to pay Bane a lot more over the next several years. So I think some of this was a cost-cutting move. Yes, I did think that was a chance that could still be a part of this conversation. And now they've got 4 picks and like the ammo to make it happen. And maybe that alone is enough. They'd still have to trade some salaries. I'd have to go and find their salaries, and it's like, are they trading John Morant for Lowry? That doesn't really make a lot of sense because that would have been nice then if you had Desmond Bane in your backcourt. Like, that's the problem. I kind of think this is just a cost-cutting move.
I was about to say, like, I don't see them trading Desmond Bane just to make a trade for Lowry. Like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Yeah,
but maybe it's 2 or 3 moves down the line.
True.
So I wouldn't rule it out entirely, but I don't know if this is like the first domino for that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's where it leads me.
Next up, Tyler Galt. Clearly, the Jazz need to find a true number 1 option, but the defense also needs to make huge strides. How do you see the front office addressing the defensive issues of the Hardy era? Can they address it through the draft? And does the whole roster need to be turned over? I think it's interesting because with the number 5 pick, you're not taking like Colin Murray Boyles. Like you're
probably not.
Yeah.
No.
So it's like you're going to upside or just best available at 5. Maybe at 21 you look defensively. What do you think?
We got another question about this from Jimbo Slice that we can talk about. Why don't I just read this Jimbo question because I think it fits in nicely. He says, old man take, watching the defensive effort in the finals has made me realize the Jazz are way further from a deep playoff run than I'd originally thought. Shouldn't defense be more of a factor when drafting? I know shooting is more important, but if you can't stop anybody, like I said this last year and I fully stand by it. If he doesn't play defense, he's not best player available.
Yeah.
So like, that's where like I've been really concerned about Trey Johnson. It's like, he doesn't try. Like he did early in the year and then it totally stopped. And it's like it's controller unplug stuff. Like, and there's some of that with Ace Bailey too. Now when Ace Bailey tries, like he's 6'7.5", 6'8" in shoes. His bend is pretty good actually. Like one-on-one, I don't think he was that bad. He's a good help side shot blocker. So like there's at least some potential there defensively that like Trey Johnson never really showed that much of. And I love the effort from Con Knippel. Like, again, we talked about his measurements early in the show. Like, I think the effort is really there. His motor runs really high, which is great. But, like, it's why, like, I would like to go back almost, and I'm going to rewatch some of these guys in the top 5 again as we get closer to the draft. And I had said, like, I don't know if VJ's a great fit for the Jazz. And now I'm just thinking, like, maybe you just need 2-way guys. Yeah. And VJ's one of the better 2-way guys not named Cooper Flagg in this draft.
Yes.
And, like, he did accidentally average 15 points and whatever it was, 5 rebounds and 3 assists. It's like maybe just the fact that he does play both sides of the floor, and he's not like a great man defender right now. But like my comp for him, again, comps are dangerous. It's like I know everyone wants to talk about like Dwayne Wade. It's like it might just be Christian Brown.
Yeah.
It's like Christian Brown is the 4th best player or 5th best player on a team that won a championship 2 years ago in Denver. It's like I know that's not that exciting at number 5 overall, and you hope his upside's way higher than that. But it's like if you knock down threes, you got a little creation off the dribble, and you play defense, and like you'll take the best opponent, the team's best opposing wing or guard. There's value there.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where VJ Edgecombe needs to pop up a little bit higher in these conversations about like over Trey Johnson and over Con Knippel, and right there with like, the Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey conversation. And it's why he has been like projected as a top 4 player.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe you just got to go defense at both, which then maybe your Rasheer Fleming fits in or whoever you like defensively in that group.
Yeah.
At 21.
Yeah.
But there's good defensive players later in the draft. That is what happens. We really value offensive players early in the draft and defensive players a little bit later.
Next question from Garth. 2 questions from him. Does Austin Ainge go big game hunting with a slew of NBA teams currently offloading salary, or do they stay the course? And then second, what's the biggest offseason move you think the Jazz need to make to become a serious playoff contender again, and how realistic is it?
Honestly, the biggest offseason move to become a serious playoff contender again is probably nothing.
Yeah.
Like, be bad again next year and try and get one of these 3 players at the top of the draft. And again, I know that's boring, but like, you're not getting Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And actually, you're more likely to trade one of the better players in this class than acquire them, and that's Lauri Markkanen.
True. I feel like serious playoff contender can be taken as contending in the playoffs and then contending to make the playoffs.
Right.
If you mean contending to make the playoffs, like maybe you trade Colin and Johns for more depth / like better defensive players, and then you could have a shot at the playoffs. But even then you're relying on your young players to take a big step up.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think I agree with you. To go back to his first question, I think they're more likely to stay the course than go big game hunting.
Like, I think the Jazz would look a lot better. This was a big conversation on Twitter the last couple of days. Like, how close are the Jazz actually? Which is, again, like, I don't think that's the goal, is to be necessarily close. I think there's been excitement because of what Brian Windhorst said.
Yeah.
But, like, I do think the Jazz might be, like, a really good point guard away from this thing making a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that 2 years ago they were playing Keontae George at point guard for most of the season.
Yeah.
A long part of the season. And then last year it was Isaiah Collier.
Yeah.
Which just like doesn't know how to do everything yet, like can't shoot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you were to just go out and get Tyus Jones or whatever, like a guy who's played it for a long time, I promise you it would all look better.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem, I think, with what we saw night in and night out. It's like it just looked so sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, yeah, it was sketchy because the guy at the most important position was brand new to this.
Yes.
Like Keontae had literally never played point guard.
No.
He was a shooting guard who was trying to play that role and learn it and has gotten better at it. And I don't know if he's even on the roster next year. And Isaiah Collier, like, was the 29th pick and was starting at point guard for you for lots of the season. It's like, yeah, it's going to look terrible.
Yeah.
So, like, why did they look way better when Mike Conley and Kelly Olynyk were on the roster? It's like, well, yeah, those guys are natural ball distributors who know how to play the game.
Yeah.
And, like, guess what? You could have Mike Conley this offseason. It's like, that's the danger.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, what is actually real and what actually matters to you? But I do think that's where the Jazz, if you wanted to be a contender to make the playoffs, like, go make a serious upgrade at point guard.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Whit Owens Riley asks, it seems like you guys liked Con over Trey Johnson. Have you changed your tone on that at all? From what I see, Trey has better upside at being an all-star.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, that might be a higher swing. I think he's also got, like, legitimate can't play him defensive downside.
Yeah.
And I don't see that as much with Con, but...
especially now that we find out he's the best athlete in the draft.
Yeah, especially now that like, his athletic measurements were very fine, very solid. But it's like, yeah, I mean, no, Trey's good. Trey's like a good player. Like, I think if you get Trey at 5, you should be happy if you're a Jazz fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I think that's like a totally acceptable pick, and I understand why they would do it. No, I lean a little bit more towards Con just because, like, the question for me with Trey is just like, his best skill is like getting to his 3 off the dribble.
Yes.
Right? Like, and he does it at an elite level, but the best of anyone in this draft by far.
Absolutely.
It's like, how many times do you ask him to do that in a game? So, like, are you going to ask him to do it 10 times in a game? No.
Yeah.
It's like 3 or 4. That's a good thing. That's like, that's big. It's like, but does he do absolutely everything else worse than Con Knippel? Yes.
Yeah.
He's a worse defensive player. He's a worse rebounder. He's a worse passer. He's a worse decision maker. He's a worse, like, teammate. Like, and then maybe his teammates at Texas were terrible. Like, that's if he plays with the elite teammates like Con had at Duke, maybe it looks totally different. But like from what we've seen, yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, so you do everything else worse. And by the way, Con Knippel's a 40% 3-point shooter. It's not like Con Knippel's a 20% 3-point shooter and does everything else better. No, Con just takes different threes. He has a different shooting profile. He doesn't create them off the dribble. But like, neither does Desmond Bane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, so no, I probably haven't flipped necessarily, but those two are like right next to each other.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like,
both like top 6 or 7 guys.
It's also like apples to oranges in a way, like you're talking about.
Yeah. In some ways they're totally different.
Yeah.
In some ways they're both like really good players that are going to go in the top 7.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, I would say I probably haven't. But if you wanted to say like that, Trey Johnson had all NBA upside because there's a chance he averages 27 points a game in the NBA, I buy that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also told you, like, I think he might be Malik Monk.
Yeah.
Which go back and dial up you Malik Monk's Kentucky highlights.
Mm-hmm.
Like, tell me what's different about Trey Johnson other than the fact that he actually gets to the paint. which Trey Johnson does not. So, anyways.
Next question from Braden Brinton. Your reaction to the Memphis trade, if you haven't already in the show, are they pulling the plug on that team? If they are, does more good players in the market change what you think the Jazz want to do? Just to recap, Orlando or the Memphis Grizzlies traded Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, 4 unprotected first-round picks, and 1 first-round pick swap. For context, and I think this is something Wendy said on SportsCenter, which I think is a really good point, is as much the 4 first-round picks for Bane seems like a lot, but you're also basically like having to pay to get rid of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
You are paying to unload him.
Yeah.
Which actually I think the interesting part for here for the Jazz is I've kind of always thought that Orlando would have been a great fit for Colin Sexton.
Yes.
And the Jazz could have taken back KCP's deal. So not only would Orlando get a better player than KCP and Colin Sexton right now, but also the Jazz might be able to get draft capital back.
Yeah.
Not just for Colin, but also for taking on KCP. So like, was there a weird situation where you could get 2 firsts for him? And maybe the Jazz just don't need more draft capital at the moment. But that's where I actually thought it was the most telling for the Jazz, even going back to Dre's question about, like, does this mean that they're going to trade for Lowry? I think that's the more telling is because I think Colin would have made a lot of sense in Orlando. What I think you also have to recognize is, like, 4 unprotected sounds like a lot. Well, one of them's unprotected because it's the 16th pick this year. Like, it's not unprotected. It's top 15 protected, and it, it only conveys if it's 16 exactly because that's where it is. Like, that's the pick. It's not unprotected. It's the 16th pick. And then next year's is a swap with Phoenix, which is interesting, but even Phoenix's can only be the second best with Phoenix and Washington. Now, Washington's going to stink.
Yes.
So if Phoenix thinks too, it could be the 5th pick because Washington is the first overall pick. That's the big sell here because I think Orlando's going to be good and you're talking about picks in the 20s. But like if Phoenix trades Kevin Durant for like win now players, which I think is their goal, and gets back to like 38 wins, okay, then you're getting like the 15th pick again.
Yeah.
Or maybe the 12th pick or the 10th pick, which is what Houston got, which is good. But then you're talking about KCP in the 10th pick for, Desmond Bane, who is at times a borderline all-star.
Yeah.
So it's like who's 26 and under team control and is like a really great two-way player.
Yes.
So to address the question, like, was it fully like, how does this affect the Jazz?
It was if the other Memphis players are available on the market, does it change what you think the Jazz want to do? Basically, like, are they eyeing Morant and Triple J?
I wouldn't rule out like Ja Morant for the Jazz based on like his background because like we've talked about, like Danny Ainge is not afraid of players like that.
Yes.
And now look, Austin Ainge is the one calling the shots. Maybe Austin is. Maybe Austin doesn't want to deal with players like that who have had off the court issues. But like we talked about how Danny's liked Kyrie and was rumored to be interested in Kyrie when he was made available by Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And he ended up going to Dallas. So maybe. I also have told you I just like worried that like we may have seen the best of Ja already.
Yeah, true.
He's super athletic, but he's already losing some of that because of the injuries, and like his focus is clearly not on basketball. And but the Jazz have like entertained T. Morant when he's come to town, and like maybe that has kind of been out there, recognizing that there's a possibility. So potentially, yeah. I don't think Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to become available.
Yeah, no.
To be honest with you, I think he's their best player, and I bet they build around him.
Yeah. Unrelated to this question, and I know that we don't have a lot of time, but I like this trade for the Magic a lot. Like the East is wide open next year, and it's like I trust Paolo to make like a top 15 player jump. Like I think they could be really good next year.
They're going to get expensive quickly.
True.
But I do like a lot of their players. They got off their worst contract, which bad contracts are really horrible to deal with right now. I like this for both teams, in all honesty. I do think Memphis was kind of going nowhere and still has some good players. Now they've got some draft capital to make another swing or fill out their roster. So I think that's valuable, especially if Ja gets back to all-star Ja. I like Orlando finally making a trade. They never make trades, so they finally bought in. And they got like the perfect guy.
Oh, yeah.
Like Desmond Bane, like he's a good defensive player. He's an elite shooter. He doesn't need the ball in his hands a whole lot, but late in the game, you can put the ball in his hands and like trust him to do okay things, which they've really lacked. He fits really well next to Jalen Suggs. Like, this is a great trade for Orlando. I think that's a really good move.
Next up from Todd Crow. Instead of playing two-way guys, I don't think we would mind playing cultivating youth, be a bit more playoff style one-on-one, run ISO plays for the young guys, let Walker and Collier be more offensive-minded, Sexton develop at the one, and try to win every game within that paradigm.
If Sexton's back next year, I think that's the question. No, I think that is what you're going to see. I think you're going to see more like trying to look like a basketball team.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if the talent's going to be there.
Yes.
Or maybe it is. Maybe they go out and tune up or whatever. Turn it up, as Wendy said. But I kind of think, you see more like realistic effort and trying to win with players less capable of winning.
Yeah.
That would just be my guess.
Next up from Bleep Bloop. Are the Jazz actually building? Do they really want to be the Kings/Bulls in a deep Western Conference? This is something that I don't know if I just look at sports a different way, like when you're rooting for a team. But like, and this is a conversation like with the Jazz talking about like not tanking in like recent days. You talked about how far away are they? Like to me, the worst thing is being the Kings Bulls, like just constantly being the 6th to 10th seed.
Yeah. There's a weird thing going on in the NBA that teams need to be careful of is don't think you're the Indiana Pacers.
Yes.
Because you were middle of the pack early on and the Pacers were like 9-14 or whatever it was. And then like caught lightning in a bottle and now been to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals and a finals run. You're going to have some stupid teams that are going to be like, we're close.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
You're not close at all.
Yeah.
And I think like Chicago, Sacramento could find themselves in that trap. So you've got to be really careful there. You just have to really like, it's important to recognize that like, again, Tyrese Halliburton's like, he's Steve Nash right now.
Yeah.
Like that's like where he was when Steve Nash was winning 2 MVPs. Now, maybe that does mean he's a top 10 player and goes against what we said earlier in the year. But they also have Rick Carlisle, who's a legit like genius coach. So yeah, if you have horrendous ownership like the Bulls do or the Kings do, and like you think you're close and you don't realize and you just like keep betting on pounding the middle until like you hope to break out and become an elite team, I think that's really dangerous.
Yes.
It's like, you know, I don't know what it's called, but like you actually freeze water faster if you put it in hot and it will turn into an ice cube because it like the speed at which it starts to cool down continues and like keeps that momentum and it turns into ice quicker. Like I think that's kind of how you rebuild teams generally. Like be bad and then quickly get good as opposed to like we're going to slowly take a step and slowly.
Kind of like what the Thunder did. Like they had like
take a step. Right.
1 year and then it was like, oh, they're in the playoffs. Oh, they're a top seed. Oh, now they're in the finals.
Yeah, I kind of think that's maybe the easier way, which is again why I say like when I say the Jazz are probably closer to being good, it's because I don't think it needs 8 years to get that window.
Yeah.
Now I wonder if you look back at teams like Houston or teams like Detroit who did tank for like 5 years and then quickly seems like they got out of it, though they put in the time. What would happen if you shaved off those first 3 years? Like what if you never did the Jalen Green year or the Jabari Smith year? Like who cares? Like those guys are terrible. Yeah. Well, they're not terrible. Like, they might be Jazz players next year. Be careful here. But if you had shaved off those tanking years and just like did your Amen Thompson year, which again, that's the hard part of the draft. Like you don't always hit. But if you do hit the one time and then you go out and you get your Fred VanVleet and your Dylan Brooks, like, okay, now you're good again. Yeah. It's like, what if the window we're looking at is too wide and you just focus in on the Amen Thompson into Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet?
Yeah.
And that's your run. You know, that's how you got better. Maybe that's how you do it. And so the Jazz get a top 5 pick and they find their Amen Thompson, whoever it is, and they recognize, oh, this is a real deal. And then next year they've got all this cap space and they just spend it on a couple of good players and veterans that know how to win. And all of a sudden they're good. Like that's possible.
TJ Jones, looking at our swap rights with Cleveland and Minnesota, can we trade those? Doesn't appear they hold any value to the Jazz as is.
You can trade them.
Yeah.
I would disagree they don't have value. Like you're getting the 21st pick right now from the Timberwolves. You got the 15th pick 2 years ago in Keontae George. And again, like Keontae hasn't turned into a star, but like 15th pick is a reasonable value pick. And the 21st pick is a reasonable value pick.
Yeah. And we've talked about like Danny Ainge, like flipping these young players to put the puzzle together. And like you talked about, like other than Larry Markkinen, Keontae George might be one of the Jazz's most valuable player assets. So
yeah. And yes, you can trade them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can trade, like we were just talking about with the Suns pick, like that the Magic or sent to Memphis. It's like it's the second best of these picks. And by the way, the Jazz already traded the rights of some of these to Phoenix for that unprotected 2031 or 32 pick or whatever it is. So you could trade the second most valuable of those picks.
Yes.
So the swap rights, and the Jazz just get to hold on to the top swap rights. But you're giving up what could be a 9th overall pick if it falls apart in Minnesota or in Cleveland, which, like, again, as quickly as we're talking about teams being able to rebuild it, look at how quickly teams fall apart. Yeah. That's what OKC has hammered over and over, and it's really paid off for them. Houston hammered it with Phoenix and got the 10th pick this year, and they hammered it with Brooklyn. They got the 3rd pick last year. So that's why I think maybe you don't want to trade too many of those swaps because there can be value there.
Yeah. All right. Next from Stockton Ashby. Say the Grizz decide to move on from Jaren Jackson Jr. Does he do anything for you? What if the Jazz go get him and Reeves? Not sure it's in the cards. Thoughts? And then I'm gonna combine this actually. What does a realistic turn it up trade look like for the Jazz? This is from Stephen Q. Ritter. Would trading for a hurt player, Dame, for example, count as turning it up while leaving this year?
What would be interesting, I should look at the 2026 draft and just see if Memphis owns their own pick. I suspect they do because they traded it this year, so they probably have to own their own pick next year. Like, if Memphis decided they wanted to go in the tank next year and said, like, this West is too crowded, there's a lot of good players next year in the draft, we think we can have a top 5 pick, we control our own picks, which, again, I need to go and guarantee that that's the case. Like, I could see them selling off. And initiating a rebuild and just saying like the Jaw stuff has made this too toxic. We've got some good young players in Zach Edey and Jalen Wells, but our stars are not the type of stars we think we can win with. So we're going to make them available. Like, you'd kick the tire on Jaren Jackson Jr. He's a great player. He was awesome this year.
Yeah.
I wish he didn't get in foul trouble.
Yes.
I wish he would stay on the floor, because if he stayed on the floor, he's a really good player, and he doesn't, and that's his biggest issue. But maybe a change of scenery would help him. Yeah. And maybe a team more built around him. So like, I just like if I were a general manager and he became available, I would absolutely see if he's out there.
Yeah.
Now, he's going to get us. Does he get the Supermax? I can't remember if he won DPOY a couple years ago when that made him qualify for it. But he's got like a huge. I mean, he's got his huge max contract coming in regardless. He's a really good player. So he's the type of player I would look at as like, I think he's good enough to be one of your two best players on like a really high level team.
Yes.
I think he's that quality of player. And better than anyone on the Jazz right now.
Yeah.
I think he's a better player than the Jazz have.
Yeah. And then what does a realistic turn it up trade look like for the Jazz? Does trading for Dame count?
Doesn't get you better next year.
No. And I would imagine that's like,
that's a turn it down trade.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a tune it down trade.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you trade Colin Sexton and John Collins and KJ Martin for Dame and sit next year out to get another top 3 pick, and you just play your young guys.
Yeah.
Without Lowry.
Yes.
You know, I mean, Lowry, or maybe Lowry plays too, but like, you don't have to do the like, well, John's only going to play 30 games and Colin's only going to play 60 games.
Yeah. Maybe a turn it up trade would be like Colin Sexton, John Collins, a boatload of picks for Jaw. Something along those lines.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, next up, positive Jazz guy. Is Lowry's current trade value worth more or less than what Bane just went for? And again, I want to like, I would say like maybe this is too much, but I would say offloading KCP is like a first round pick or like a first round pick and a half.
Yeah,
like,
right. Yeah. In today's NBA, where teams are dealing with really tough financials. Yeah.
So I would say it's safe to say that Bane's actual trade value was like Cole Anthony and 2-3 first round picks
and 3 firsts.
Yeah.
Probably somewhat comparable. So yeah, if you were to take back $40 million in bad salary from a team and all their draft capital, like I guess you could probably get something closer to Bane.
Yeah.
I'd say Bane's probably higher though.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I'd say Bane's draft or trade value is probably a little bit higher.
Yeah.
He's younger. He's still under team control. Just funny because Bane played in college for 40 years. So I swear he was at TCU forever.
Yes.
He played 4 years, but he was young for his class, which again is why that is valuable. Sometimes I think that stuff gets overrated, but like Kalkbrenner being 23 and a half versus Bane, who I think was like 21 and a half coming out, even though he played 4 years. That's really valuable because, he's been in the league for 5 years. He's still only 26. So like he's only now getting into his prime, ideally with Bane, and he's already a good player. So that's where the value with some of that does get weighed in, actually. I just think Bane's got like a little more on-ball juice.
Yes.
He's also an elite shooter. Might even be a better shooter than Lowry, though Lowry being 7 feet tall gives him the edge there.
Yeah.
It's like a much better defensive player. So, I think Bane's probably a more valuable player than Lowry, to be honest with you. But I bet it's like in the ballpark. In the ballpark, and why the Jazz were smart not to just like give Lowry away at some point.
Yeah.
And you know what? They didn't think they were getting that quality of player when they traded Donovan Mitchell and getting Lowry back. So it's like that's a small win that you shouldn't overlook.
Yeah. Stephen Q. Ritter again says, talks about the Bane trade, asks the price point for Lowry Markkanen, but also says, do you think Walker would garner a similar package as Bane?
No. Walker wouldn't get as big a package.
Yeah, I think I agree.
And again, like this Bane trade just might not look that good a couple years from now, right? Like if Phoenix retools and is fine and it's the 18th pick, and then Orlando's an elite team in the East and you get 225 picks overall, so you get 4 picks that are in the second half of the draft. It's like with no quality player coming back.
Yeah.
Like that's not super valuable.
Yeah.
That's not a great trade actually. In fact, Memphis, like I may have wanted like Anthony Black or like one of their good young players, and that's why they added draft picks, right? They didn't have to give up last year's first round pick, the kid that played with Cody at Colorado. And they didn't have to trade Anthony Black. They didn't have to give up any of that for Desmond Bane. So they added extra draft capital, which by the way is what Minnesota did when they didn't want to give up on Jaden McDaniels, so they gave the Jazz extra first.
Yes.
It's like that's kind of the gamble you get there.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Gonna sort of combine two here. Clayson Searle and Denny B. Karchner. Denny says, I think Windhorse is making more of Austin Ainge's words for the sake of a story. What do you think? And then Clayson says, keep hearing the Jazz are going to be buyers, not sellers. What kind of buyer trade, which we kind of touched on already?
I just think there's a lot of buyers right now in the NBA.
Yes.
So it's like a buyer's market. And I think the fact that like the Jazz do have capital to spend, but a lot of teams have capital. There's I don't know if the Jazz are like the top of the buyer list, and that gets hard because things can dry up really quickly.
Yeah.
So like I think Brooklyn I would consider a bit. They could be a buyer or a seller because they could still like get rid of Cam Johnson.
Yeah.
But like they also have 4 first-round picks this year, and the only team that has cap space, so they could like legitimately be buyers. They can also trade for players and just take them into cap space. So they could take like if Memphis just wanted to get off of KCP, like Brooklyn could take a first and KCP.
Yeah.
Straight up. And like there's value there. It's not buying necessarily, but like there's value there. You know, we've got to wait to see what happens with Kevin Durant. Like that's the piece. I don't think we're going to see Giannis get moved.
I was about to say
I just kind of don't think that's going to happen this summer. I think with the East being wide open and the fact that Giannis hasn't like staked that claim and that we're 9 days away from the draft and like that's probably when it would happen. That we haven't heard much. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just kind of don't think that we're trending in that direction. So I think you're waiting for KD to get traded, which is probably going to happen in the next week. And he wants to go to Houston, Miami. What was his other team? Yeah, 3 teams.
San Antonio.
San Antonio. I wouldn't rule out like the Clippers potentially getting into that conversation, but we will see there. And then we'll see, you know, who's left on the board and who's actually buying and who becomes available. Those are all it's just hard questions. It's easy to speculate at this point.
Yeah. With the Giannis trade talk sort of plateauing, it makes me think the Dame trade is more likely.
Yeah, I agree. If you're keeping Giannis in Milwaukee next year, you want to build a better roster around him, you've got to find a way to improve. And again, that's where, that's where Brooklyn could come in. That's where the Jazz could come in. Like Brooklyn could trade Cam Johnson and another player for Milwaukee's future first. If Brooklyn just wants to tank next year and be terrible and have another top 5 pick, which maybe they do, or maybe they say, we want to take on good players.
Yeah.
But also, yes, we're the Jazz for Colin Sexton and John Collins and KJ Martin for the 32nd overall pick and maybe even a young player or something we could get back.
All right. That's all the questions for today.
That's it?
Yeah, I think so.
Only a 2.5-hour podcast, whatever we did today. Appreciate everybody listening. As always, find us on Twitter at Holt Sports and Ben's Hoops. Same thing at Blue Sky. Remember, next week we're going to do our normal Jazz Notes podcast. I think we should look into the international guys because they're going to be firmly in the conversation at 21 for the Jazz. So we'll look at some of the international players, and there's 5 or 6 of them. And then maybe 1 or 2 more. You mentioned like Colin Murray Boyles. Maybe we should talk about him. Yeah. Walter Clayton. Wink, wink. We should talk about him for the Jazz. That doesn't mean anything, by the way. Just like kind of a gut feeling I have. We'll talk about him and some of the other guys kind of in that room, in that group. And then after that, we'll record a second podcast. It's just like a 30-team mock draft that'll probably take 6 hours. So.
And exactly. And I'm pretty sure we're just like, there will be trades on draft night, but we're doing chalk for our mock draft, right?
Yeah, I don't want to get into a trade.
That'll make it 3 hours.
That throws it off too much. But we will go through that. We'll try and do it relatively quickly. So that's what's coming up next week. Appreciate everyone tuning in or finding us on YouTube. We'll be back to you again next week.